The UN's Office for Human Rights released its mid-year report showing that Afghan civilian war deaths hit a record level of 1,462 in the first half of 2011 alone. The report, which is published every 6 months, takes place in what some believe to be the middle of the spring offensive in Afghanistan.
At a news conference on Thursday, a spokeswoman for the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan said the first half of 2011 was the deadliest for civilians since the decade-old war began.
We at UNAMA documented 1,462 civilian deaths for this period, with 80% attributed to the anti-government elements, an increase of 28% in civilian deaths from the same period in 2010.
The deaths are a result of roadside and suicide bombings, increased ground fighting, and more deadly airstrikes.
As UNAMA documented a few weeks ago, May 2011 was the deadliest month for Afghan civilians since 2007.
Protests in Khusht in eastern Afghanistan against a night raid that killed 6 people underlined local anger at civilian casualties caused by the Afghan police, army, and NATO.
This bombardment, which happened in the center of the province, killed 6 civilians and wounded 2 others, including women and children. The casualties are teachers and students of schools. We are protesting here, urging the government not to do these kinds of raids anymore.
The protesters chant, "Death to America, death to the government." The controversial airstrikes by NATO-led forces are the leading cause of civilian deaths by pro-government forces, killing 79 people.
Port security is part of traveling these days, from walking through X-ray machines to being patted down. Well, one new Port Richey couple contacted 10 News to say that the search they received went too far. The husband tells 10 News reporter Isabel Mascareñas that they were unfairly targeted because of their disability.
They removed that first. They did the hair. And then they did the usual upper body search, but they went deeper into the collar.
Jason Steitler describes how a TSA official searched him at the Greater Rochester International Airport July 6.
Then they had me lift up, physically do a push-up on my chair, get down inside my inner thigh, around my backside, and it was just the most thorough search I've ever had to do in my life.
Steitler and his wife Jennifer were heading home to New Port Richey that morning. She too is in a wheelchair and was searched by a TSA official.
She's been using the phrase search raped. She feels search raped because it was that thorough. I mean, it was she says it was nearly to her crotch. Well, I always feel a little violated because I feel that chairs should be able to have the option of either using the scanners or the searches. But usually we're just automatically thrown into being patted down.
Steitler says he and his wife have complained to TSA about their experience at the Rochester International Airport, but he says all they've received in return is a standard form letter.
Just their standard reply to everything. In order to fly, you have to be searched.
In an email to the Steitlers, a TSA official writes, "We apologize for any insensitivity or inappropriate treatment you experienced during the screening process." And in another email, a TSA official says, "We believe these security measures are necessary and appropriate for ensuring the security and confidence of all air travelers." The Steitlers say they are not opposed to the searches, just the way the disabled are treated when it's done.
Just generally try and be fair about it.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Friday, July 15th, 2011. I'm Darko. This is part 2 of this news bulletin, everyone. And speaking on behalf of many, many people out there, I do not agree with the TSA pat-down searches where basically you have choice if you want to travel to either get radiated or be molested and humiliated. And you know what, I don't agree with either of that. So it says here, do you believe the failure to raise the debt ceiling will hurt or help the American people, not banks, in the long run? So far we have 58% saying it will help the American people in the long run by not raising the debt ceiling, and then 25% saying it will hurt it, along with 12% saying both. www.ggnonline.com is my website. That's ggnonline.com. You can go down here to the bottom and You can track me if you have a blogger account right here to the right, or if you go all the way down here, you can click that button and follow me on Facebook, which is there's also a Global Government News section there. And DDarko 2012 is my YouTube channel. Okay, got through with all that. If you're a new viewer or listener, check the YouTube's video description, and all these articles, if not most of them, will be in there with the links, the headlines and the links for all of these articles. So I recommend going there and taking the time to check them out. So I have a lot of news to get to still. And so I just cover Libya in the beginning. Libyan revolutionaries capture oil town, and there's conflicting reports here. Libyan revolutionaries or rebels have managed to take control of the oil-rich town in the country's east as anti-regime forces continue advancing towards government positions. Then we have this article coming from the People's Daily. Libyan government troops thwart rebel NATO attack. It says Libyan government forces have defeated a rebel attack against the country's strategic oil town of Brega, government spokesman said on Thursday. Moving along here. Colonel Gaddafi has suicide plan to blow up Tripoli. It says Colonel Gaddafi has a suicide plan to blow up the capital of Tripoli if it is taken by rebels, the Kremlin's special envoy to Libya said. So go in there and check that out. Libya war triggers Africans' UK influx. Tens of thousands of Libyan refugees are embarking on mass immigration into Britain and other EU countries after the NATO military alliance invaded Libya. So he says Gaddafi is facilitating the mass immigration as part of a devastating retaliation he promised to do if he was attacked by NATO. So go in there and check that out as well. Okay, Gaddafi. It says here, Gaddafi regime not legitimate, and this is the biggest news for today I have to present. It's all throughout the mainstream media, and it's complete BS. That's just my own personal belief. But world leaders say that they're not legitimate, and that the rebels who are carrying out atrocities as well are somehow a legitimate government now. So now you see the Secretary of State, State Department, all them, they can just go into your country if you're a sovereign nation, just take leaders out and say, we don't really think you're a legitimate government anymore. And like I said before, can you imagine if the Chinese or the Russians just, said, U.S., we don't think your government's legitimate anymore. And it's not really, but can you imagine if they just put in their own little puppet government inside the United States? Do you think we would like that? No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't like it one bit. It says delegates from more than 30 countries, including Canada, declared Muammar Gaddafi's regime, or government, whatever you want to call it, in Libya no longer legitimate Friday, officially recognizing his main opposition as the country's governing authority. And Clinton just was quoted as basically, I'm paraphrasing here, that Assad, Syrian's leader, is basically no longer a valuable asset to them. So that means that they're probably going to announce that they don't think that their government is legitimate either in Syria. So that's just what they call soft power, soft war now, soft warfare. Rights group Libyan rebels looted and beat civilians. Then Libyan rebels accused of burning homes and looting. Human Rights Watch says rebels ransacked medical facilities and torch houses of Gaddafi supporters. And Libyan or Gaddafi supporters, or those who don't want a big puppet regime coming in. Gaddafi was probably already working with the West, but whoever they're going to put in there next is just going to be even worse. So, but those Libyans that are not pro-rebel do get discriminated against, and they won't be allowed on buses if they do say, if the people do figure out that they're pro-Gaddafi. So. It's pretty divided over there, and that's the whole strategy, divide and conquer. It's like that with everywhere. It says here, a Libyan rebel commander admits his fighters have al-Qaeda or al-Qaeda links. Then Libya rebels execute, behead, mutilate Gaddafi army who surrender. Where's CNN now? You can go in there and check that out. I'm not going to show that. Says here, UK to send 4 more RAF Tornados to Libya. The UK is sending 4 more Tornado warplanes to support the NATO mission in Libya, in addition to 12 aircraft it has already deployed. So we're going to move on to this next article here, which basically says U.S. used strategic bombers against Libya. And this is from actually the Air Force magazine. And says here on March 5, Air Force bombers, 3 B-2s and B-1Bs attacked targets in Libya as part of NATO's mission to protect civilians from government attack in the country's uprising and civil war. So we all saw the stage show, the comedy show of the U.S. handing over its basically the mission to NATO, but yet here we have bombers flying out of Missouri and other U.S. bombers strategically striking, yet, I've covered so many reports of civilians dying in Libya due to these NATO attacks. Iran deplores deadly blasts in India, and said the foreign ministry spokesman has announced a serial bomb blast that struck the various parts of the Indian port city of Mumbai. In a statement, they said the presence of foreign powers and their misguided approaches are the root causes of terrorism in the Unlike last time, India reluctant to blame Mumbai blast on Pakistan. India brushed off speculation tying to Mumbai bombings to Pakistan and said Friday it remained committed to recently renewed peace talks with its rival neighbor. Then we have this article up next. It says Pak TV channel says 2611 hatched by Hindu Zionists. And it says here Mumbai's attack was actually planned and hatched by Hindu Zionists and Western Zionists, including the Mossad, said a self-styled Pakistan security expert on a Pakistan news television show uploaded on hotclicks.com. And then you have this individual, Hamid Gul. He's a lieutenant general in the Pakistani army. Basically, he worked with ISI as well, the Inter Service Intelligence for Pakistan, and he was saying the last bombing attack in Mumbai was actually Pakistani intelligence working, and actually Western intelligence working through the Pakistani intelligence agency. So it was actually an attack from the West, from the Zionists in Mumbai last time. So it looks like it is the same scenario this time. And so you have the usual rhetoric after the problem, reaction, solution. Which is response to Mumbai blast suggests a lack of preparedness. So details about the response to the blast that rocked the city 2 days ago suggest India's financial capital isn't prepared to handle large-scale terror attacks almost 3 years after a terrorist rampage. Then we have former police intelligence analysis sacked for calling 7/7 a monstrous lie. Former police intelligence analysis has gone public with his views that the July 7th London bombings a monstrous lie perpetuated by our own intelligence agencies with clear government complicity, causing his career to take a sudden downturn. Then CNN reported Wednesday that so-called terrorism expert that is paid with tax dollars has even appeared on one of their shows may be a fraud. Well, it's all a fraud. It says here, bin Laden plotted new attacks. So just more complete crap, talking about militants who attacked the U.S. on the 10th anniversary of 9/11. That was helped and funded by the U.S. government. It says here, bin Laden hit list also included Air Force One Petraeus. So just more garbage coming out about a guy that's probably been dead for the past 7 years and who wasn't even really responsible for anything. It was his handlers because he was a CIA asset. Iran ready to foil, and he comes from a rich Saudi family, so that, I mean, that pretty much says everything. Iran ready to foil U.S. intelligence plots, he says, complete ready to counter all plots hatched by enemy intelligence services, particularly those of U.S. and Israel. UK comfortably kills Afghans by drones. UK's Royal Air Force commanders feel legally comfortable to kill civilians in Afghanistan using drone tactics, according to media reports. Karzai orders probe into NATO killings of civilians. Civilian deaths hits a new high as West looks for Afghan exit. That's right, they're out the back door. And Jesuits teach nearly 4,000 Afghan youth. The vast majority of Afghans want peace, according to Father Stan Fernandez, an Indian Jesuit who directs the Jesuit refugee service in strife-torn nation. The rebels are about 10,000, but attract the attention of the international community, he told FIDE's news agency. Our mission is to give the voice and hope to 99% of the Afghan population who struggle every day with their heart to go forward to build a better tomorrow. So the U.S. drawdown begins in Afghanistan, talking about pulling out the troops. They're still going to be there as well, though. It says here, China urges direct talks on South China Sea disputes. And then Vietnam and U.S. Navy's kick off exchange activities, exercises, like they do with South Korea. Then exiled Tibetans protest Communist Party meddling in their religious affairs, saying basically long live the Dalai Lama. And next up we have NATO jets violate Pakistani airspace. And it's usually CIA drones that are killing people in Pakistan. But here we have NATO helicopters entered the same region last year, firing several rockets that killed 3 Pakistani soldiers. Well, they're supposed to be on their side. Egyptians to rally for civilian rule and not a military dictatorship. And they'll probably either get Muslim Brotherhood or al-Baradi. Not going to be good for either of them take power. We have Chinese bank helped fund Hamas, who says dozens of Israeli terror victims are suing the Bank of China for helping to fund 2 groups they say launched attacks against them and their family members in the latest cases of Chinese-sponsored terrorism to make its way to U.S. court. U.S.-Canada border could get security upgrades at Michigan. U.S. government builds first law enforcement base in Mexico. New state-of-the-art U.S. base currently under construction would be used to launch covert operations against drug cartels. Again, more utter bullshit. The ATF has been selling guns and supplying them to the drug cartels. GGN, I'm Darko. Thank you.